Welcome to another episode of Coming Out Stories from What Goes On Media, with me, Emma Goswell. You're now going to hear from Claire. She's from Surrey and didn't come out as trans until her mid-40s, when she had to tell both her wife and her teenage daughter. Please be warned, this interview may be triggering, as it does mention transphobia and sexual abuse.
I'm a transgender woman, and I think I identify as pansexual, but mainly lesbian. I mean, I've only had relationships with women, and I think growing up I've experimented and realised that men aren't for me. So I've gone from where I thought I was pansexual to being lesbian. So I've sort of like felt different urges at different times, I suppose. All my relationships have been with women, so I do class myself now as a trans lesbian, if that's a category. I don't know.
You can have whatever category you want, Claire. But it sounds like for you it has been quite a long journey in a way.
Yeah.
So let's try and go back to the beginning, shall we? When can you remember sort of questioning your gender or thinking about gender as a child?
Yeah. I think for me it was probably about 11 or 12. I was quite a feminine boy, always playing with the girls at school, and I started dressing probably about that age, 11, 12, generally at home when I could, and experimenting. Obviously, not having any understanding really of what was going on.
So when you say dressing, I mean, whose clothes were you using?
I've been mainly my mum's tights and stuff. Obviously, this was still the 70s and no computers, no mobile phones, and not really having anyone to talk to. My mum was really good. She was a teacher, but for me, I don't know, really. A lot of questions going on. I got to about 13 and I got abused by two men who it really set me back a lot. I was quite an outgoing boy, and it just stopped all that. I went into my shell, and basically I hid away for years, really.
God, I'm guessing you didn't even feel able to speak about it at the time or even report it?
No. Well, the thing was, there were a man on my paper round, and so we had interacted with them, and then they dressed me up and abused me, and so it changed my outlook of, was it because I like dressing that it happened? Why did it happen? There was a lot of self-blaming, I suppose, and I suppose for most of my teen years it was a mixture of compulsion of wanting to dress, but also revulsion because it was linked now to that attack, and you just end up hating yourself. Your self-worth goes through the floor.
It's so sad to hear that, Claire. I'm guessing that took quite a lot of therapy to get over and understand and get over that.
Yeah, it did. It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I actually opened up about it, and it was affecting my relationship with my partner at the time, and I opened up and went and had counselling. I confronted a lot of demons and compartmentalised it and realised that I didn't need to blame myself for what happened, and I was able to finally put it to bed, sort of thing. So I don't let things like that define what's happened to me or how I've turned out. But, I think it slowed down maybe my transition.
Well, I mean, thank you for being honest and talking about it, because it's the sort of thing that, understandably, a lot of people don't want to talk about. But unfortunately, a lot of people have experienced something like this.
It was a weight around me for years.
But it seems like you not got over it, but something within you said, that isn't connected, and I need to carry on dressing or looking at this side of myself. So your dressing continued, did it?
Yeah, on and off. I tried to do the manly things. Try and you fight against it. This isn't me. I don't. What's going on. So I started going to football and drinking and doing all lads things. But still, it was in the background. By then, it was the rave scene was coming along. and I was going to clubs and going to more diverse clubs, not just mainstream clubs. And I was seeing more people who were more openly, gender variant or proud to be who they are. And I realised that there was opportunities for me to go out dressed. And I suppose when I was 25, I was still living at home. My mum had gone to Poland to teach English for a year, so I had the house to myself. And I think I got over that stage where I was dressing and feeling revulsion to myself, and just came to terms with it, that I could come home and dress and be myself, and I didn't have to be awful or sexual or anything like that. And I was close to transitioning then, but I never did. So Claire went back in the wardrobe. You go through life on these horrible cycles where you dress and it's great, and then you battle your demons and you purge your clothes, you throw them all away, and then a month later you're buying a new dress, and it's a vicious circle.
It sounds like in a way the club scene sort of saved you a bit, though, because you obviously felt accepted there, and you felt like part of a community, maybe.
Yeah, it was obviously with a lot of the pills going around and that, it was a really good vibe anyway. But I gradually came more out of myself, out of my shell, but had some really good times, and it allowed me to express myself out in public, as opposed to it was always hidden away. It was always like my dirty secret. Never told my mum before she died. I suppose as technology comes along and then computers started happening, there was more information, and I could make more informed decisions about, actually, I'm not looking at stuff at the back of the exchange in Mart. That's how we used to buy clothes, or the one shop in London that would do it, that charged fortunes.
And did you have any understanding, Claire, of what you were going through, that you were transgendered, or was there such lack of information you weren't sure? Because I have spoken to people who are, they identify as cross-dressers and they're just quite happy dressing and then just having it at the weekends. But was there a light bulb moment when you thought, no, I am a woman?
Not at that stage. I think I was still coming to terms with it. And obviously by the time I was 30, I'd been in a relationship for a while and had a baby daughter. So then I seemed to put it at the back of my mind, try and put that in a box and, right, this is my life now. This is what I have to focus on. I speak to a lot of my trans friends, and most feel that they have progressed from early stages of cross-dressing to trans. Not everyone does it. I've got good friends who are gender fluid, who they're quite happily compartmentalising everything. But as I was understanding it more, I was opening myself up to, actually, this is me. This isn't who I've got to hide in that box. This is something I've got to get out. And I suppose then, once my relationship broke down with my daughter's mother, I had more freedom again, to more time to express myself. There was a moment where I sat down with a pen and pad and a bottle of Rioja, and I got drunk, and the idea was that if I could have anything in my life without any restrictions, what would it be? And made a list of stuff, and then in the morning I would write down what the restrictions were, sort of thing. So obviously it was living my true self. I think I'd come to that point there where I wanted to be my true self, but I have lots of barriers in the way, and it was, how can I work out what these barriers were? I already knew I wanted to live as a woman, but I had to put a plan into place.
So what was on the list? What was top of the list?
Oh, God. Well, obviously wanting to live my life, still having contact with my daughter, really. It wasn't a very big list, because I've got lots of friends who have transitioned and their families have disowned them. So that's always a big if. But I was still good friends with my daughter's mum. We just fell out of love, really. We didn't, it wasn't acrimonious or anything. And I was at Sparkle. So I was in Manchester at Sparkle
Big festival weekend, yeah.
Yes, biggest trans festivals. And it's helped so many people. It is wonderful to feel in a an accepted group and make new friends. And I was walking down Canal Street and my ex rang me up just for a chat. How are you? Yes, fine. Where are you? Well, I'm in Manchester. I'm at this transgender festival and I'm finding out about myself. Oh, okay then. So then I sent her a picture and she said, oh, nice legs. And when I came back, we had a good chat and she said it explained a lot about how our relationship was and said, well, you know, if you feel this is the path, then go for it, really. But obviously then my daughter was 15.
And was this the first time you told her then? This was the first time you'd really approached it?
Yeah, and we agreed to that I'd wait until my daughter left school at 16. So in that time, I was still out as Claire. I was working not as Claire, which was hard because I was on a building site. Probably the worst place to try and transition. God. And when I was with my daughter, I was quite androgynous. And then when she was 16, I took her for a coffee and showed her a few pictures on my phone, had a brief chat. She had seen a picture on my phone and thought it was a picture of my new girlfriend, but it was actually me.
Wow.
So we had a brief chat and we booked some CAMS counselling. So we went and had counselling.
How did she respond, though, on that initial chat?
Yeah, she was surprised. We kept it brief because I didn't want to overload her. We said that we could get questions, you know, from her to her mum, to me, and then we could try and work stuff out. Yeah, she was initially surprised, and we had a lot of things to work out, which came out in the counselling sessions, which is quite good. It started off with all three of us and a counsellor, and then it just became me and my daughter.
And was that something you suggested or something she wanted to do?
From what I can remember, we sort of said, you know, I don't want her to have the pressure of asking the questions. She can ask the counsellor and the counsellor can ask me, sort of thing. That's how it worked. And after about 4 or 5 months, we had this conversation where it basically boiled down to, I'm still your dad. I'm still here for you. I've not changed inside. And she said, yeah, I just get it now. I just get it. And it was a weight off my shoulders. It was such a relief. It was really such a relief. And about a month later, she put a post up on Facebook, oh, my dad's trans, you know.
Really?
And she basically came out to her friends that I was trans, which was really nice. It was unexpected. And when I saw it, you know, it met with my heart, bless her. Yeah, she was number one on my list. And then after that, I just think, well, I've got friends who I've known for 30 years who I sat down and told in individual times, sort of thing. Because by this time I'd had 2 Facebook profiles. And obviously the way Facebook works, the algorithms or whatever it is, that people you may know, so you start seeing people on my other friends list, on my friends list. So I had to come out, really, because a couple of people have said, oh, I've got people looks like you.
So you had 2 Facebook profiles with 2 completely different names and 2 genders?
Yeah.
Wow.
But because I think it works out of your devices, unless you're really clever, eventually there are crossovers. Yeah, I had a few chats again and then decided to put a post up on my Facebook about my journey. By then, I suppose I was 45, something like that, just to explain my journey and my reasonings. It's actually came up on my Facebook memories today, so it was an anniversary today.
Oh, happy transiversary.
Yeah.
I've just invented a word for us.
Yes.
And how did that go? Because people can be weird on Facebook sometimes.
My life at that time, I was heavily playing poker in the poker scene. It's very male dominated again, but it's very friendly, and you sit at a table and you have banter and try and win people's money. And but we had a few people who put negative comments, but I didn't have to say anything because my other friends jumped in and said, you know, why are you being like this? Blah, blah, blah.
Well, that's one way of finding out who your true friends are, isn't it?
Well, yeah, and I suppose now as the years have gone on, it took me a couple of years before I went back to poker as Claire and played for the first time. But because I'm with people I know and in a friendly place, and I've got quite a dry sense of humour anyway, and we just sit round and take the piss out of each other. But it was different. But and I'd missed it for 2 years because I think I didn't want to give up aspects of my life because I transitioned. I still wanted to do the things. I still like going to football if I can, because I've done it for years and years, and I've got good friends there. And for me, that coming out then was getting messages of support. You can only really tell when you meet them personally then.
So it sounds like you've only lost a few sort of people in from the periphery, and most of your real friends have been real friends.
Yeah, and by that time, Claire obviously was going out. I was reliving my life as a teenager. So I was going off like to Manchester once a month or Leeds or wherever. The options for clubs is either going to London or there's Pink Punters in Milton Keynes, which is a really good. It was my first proper club to go to. It's like really good security, it's safe, and it's good music. So it allowed me to evolve in a safe environment.
Well, I thought nothing happened in Milton Keynes, so I'm quite impressed to learn this.
Concrete cows and roundabouts. Yeah. So having a safe environment to transition in is important, because realistically there's like sex clubs where there's pressure on trans people to be sexualized, and which is not very good really. So I think there's more options now, but it's depending on their confidence really. Your confidence grows. For me, like the abuse I get hasn't really changed. It's just my attitude in how I deal with it.
You're getting abuse from who? When?
It's everywhere really. When you're out, it's verbal abuse, it's physical abuse. I think I've had rocks thrown at me. I think I've been tripped, punched, everything you can think of, really.
Just for walking down the street?
Well, yeah, just for engaging, going out, just doing your normal stuff. I mean, obviously, like last year was a bit of a low for me because I do homeless outreach, and after homeless outreaches, we normally go and have a chat and talk about what we've done and everything. And last year, I think I got threatened with a knife 3 times, like walking back to the station or whatever. But I'm an easy target. I'm 6'3" and a bit, and I'm an easy target.
And this is blatant transphobia then?
Yeah. I knew my wardrobe would improve when I transitioned, but buying a stab vest was probably the saddest thing I've brought.
Is that true?
Yeah. I've worn it when I do outreach. I don't wear it all the time.
That's horrific, Claire. So you feel that threatened that you wear a stab vest when you do the work?
Yeah, I've stopped volunteering since last year, really, because it set me back a bit. Again, it's something I didn't want to do because dealing with homeless people, the amount of LGBT people on the streets is quite high. So
disproportionately,
we reckon it's about 1 in 4. And lots of people on the street, they hide their sexuality or their gender because it's not safe. And when I'm feeding people on the street, they come to me because they can see I'm openly trans, and they tell me their story and how hard it is. It's trying to transition on the street is so hard. And even being a gay guy, it's, lots hide it because of the abuse. So it's something I've got my head around a bit more now, and I will go back out and start more voluntary work.
It's really sad to hear you say that, because a lot of people say, oh, things are great for LGBT people in the 20s. We've got equal marriage. Things aren't too bad. Why do you need gay pride parades?
Yeah.
And hearing you talk just makes me realise even more why we need gay pride marches and gay pride month. And, and for the whole LGBT family to be together as one.
I think the thing is, it's easy to go down a wormhole online on Twitter and, faceless people and get abuse on there. But it's a different when you're just going out trying to live your life. Like I do my job normally. I go out, I'm an electrician, I service shops, and I just get on with my life. Then you'll get the comments, and then you have to decide, actually, do I want to engage in this person? It's not my job to educate them, but a lot of people, I'm maybe the first trans person they've met. So I use it as a good opportunity to explain a few things. If it's like early evening or afternoon and people are reasonable, I've got a good chance of having a conversation. But if it's 12 o'clock outside a pub, that conversation isn't really going to be worthwhile me having. So I've learned to cross over, ignore the comments.
And you have come out at work then? There are people understanding at work?
Yeah, no, I stopped working on building sites because it was really tough to transition. My builder that I was working for was really good, but obviously every site you go to, there's different people. And by then I fully transitioned, name change, deep hole. And then I just put my CV online as Claire, and my present company employed me as Claire. Things like changing my qualifications, my city and guilds. I have to dead name myself every time I give my certificates in because it's such a procedure to change them and expensive. I think they want like £80 a certificate to change it. And I've got like 5 or 6 certificates now. So it really doesn't bother me, but I shouldn't have to out myself when I go to get a job but they're a good company and it's great because I'm going out to meeting different people every day and they're engaging with a trans woman just going about a daily job.
It was interesting, you said a phrase a while ago, you said, I'm very obviously and openly trans. Is that a conscious decision for you? Because a lot of trans people I've spoken to have gone through periods in their life where they wanted to be, and they use this word stealth. So they don't want anyone to realise their past or any previous genders. They want to just be known as who they are now. They don't want to discuss it. They don't want to be open. But for you, I get the sense that it's very important for you to be openly trans and talk about the issues.
Yeah, I think I'm at that stage where in my life now, I've been at the gender clinic for 4 years and I'm finally now on the waiting list for surgery. Mm-hmm. So surgery will probably happen within a year. I'm trying to finish my house and so I can sell it so I can afford facial surgery. I am a happy trans woman and I don't mind saying that. I know obviously there's this big lot of pressure for people to pass or, I don't look feminine enough or whatever. I see it on a lot of the groups. They're looking for affirmation all the time. I feel that, there's a balance that needs to be struck. My history is my history. I'm a woman with a trans history is probably how I would define myself. It's not the same for everyone though. So like a lot of people, they want to keep their head down and just get on with their life.
I get the sense for you as well, though, that you feel like there's a lot to fight for at the moment. I know for a fact that you've been and stood outside the Houses of Parliament with placards before now.
Yes, well, we get called activists, trans rights activists, but actually when you've got this drip effect of abuse, of pressure, of every time you open up the papers on a Sunday or whenever, you just know you're going to get attacked. And I need to be there holding a banner. I need to go to the protest, to the Black Trans Lives protest was awesome. We need to be making our presence known, and the reforms that were promised still haven't happened, and we need to keep the pressure on.
It's tough times for trans people, I think, isn't it? I feel like sometimes it's 1 step forward, 2 steps back with trans rights. Do you feel that?
Well, I think it can be. I think a lot of it is how the debate is framed and what we're talking about. And so, saying, we're going to bar trans women from toilets is a bit of a no-go, really, because we've been doing it for years and protected in doing so for 10 years with the Equality Act. So once you sit and have that discussion and find out what level people's understanding is, obviously we're still going to be battling against people who have got their ultimate aim is just to not have trans people. Because, again, when you explain the argument and bring trans men into it, then they often get forgotten about in the trans debate. And they're an important part of showing actually why certain people's thinking is not the best. Hopefully, fingers crossed, we hear about the reforms.
What's the most important thing in the reforms that you'd like to see happen?
I'd like to see maybe non-binary people represented or being shown to be thought of. I think actually obtaining a gender recognition certificate at the moment, you need to have a medical diagnosis or I think 2 medical diagnoses, and shown that you've lived in your acquired gender for at least 2 years. Maybe just simplifying it a bit more.
The more I talk to you, Claire, the more I realise and remember just quite how much we've got to fight for as a community, actually. So Thank you for this really important and timely reminder, actually.
Yeah, I mean, it's about embracing what rights we have and tuning it as we go along. But obviously, it all takes time. But doing things, protesting and standing up, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for people who are following. So it makes it easier. By me going out, doing my job and engaging with people, then the next trans person they meet, hopefully they'll have a better interaction.
Amen to that.
Yeah.
And just before you go, Claire, I just wanted to point out, because obviously I can see you because this is a Zoom call, but people listening won't be able to see this. There's a lovely card behind your head. I hope you don't mind me pointing this out.
Oh, yeah.
There's Dad. Yeah. So I'm assuming this is a lovely card from your daughter.
Yes, this is my Father's Day card. To Dad, happy Father's Day. Thank you for everything you do for me. Thank you for being inspirational in the work you do. I hope you feel better soon. Hopefully the presents help. The love's Amy, my daughter. Eventually, she joined me at Brighton and we marched. It was actually after the Pulse shooting, and we marched right at the front of Brighton Pride with a picture of the people who got killed at Pulse, and it was so emotional. She always inspires me. And we sat down in the garden in the summer this year, and she just dropped it in the conversation that she's bisexual, and
oh, so she came out to you?
Yes. So she's got that confidence, and she said she's felt different at 13, at 14, but hopefully it makes her a happier person. She hasn't got to wait 20 years more to come out, and she's happy now expressing herself.
Wow. And are you okay with her calling you Dad? Is that something
you stick
with?
Yeah, that's not going to change. With conversations with people, I think it's important that she's still got a dad, even though, I present differently.
Well, you are an incredible example of the LGBTQ rainbow family, aren't you, really?
Thank you so much.
And marching together for everybody's rights. I love it. And whenever this COVID nonsense is over again, I'm sure we'll all be out marching.
Yes, definitely.
So there you go, a double coming out story. The wonderful Claire talking about coming out as trans and how she now has an out and proud bisexual daughter. Don't forget, if you want to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter at Come Out Stories, and on Instagram we're Coming Out Stories Pod. More inspirational stories next time around when we meet Leighton and hear a coming out story that's connected to a royal wedding, no less.
We had a fancy dress party at ours for William F. Gates' wedding, and I dressed up as Princess Di. My partner dressed up as, I think, the Queen's mother, and then other friends. And we took a picture, and one of my friends posted a picture on Facebook. Then my aunts messaged me saying, what's all this rubbish? What's all this nonsense that you're dressed as a woman? Why are you trying to tell us? My partner just went, maybe it's time you just tell them.